One of the most newfangled American acts to emerge during the late 70s was a band out of Boston with a very nervy yet foreboding vocalist. A commanding presence, quirky, eccentric, and with a very unique keyboard sound and arrangements. Yes, I'm talking about the Cars. And from their 1980 third album, Panorama, the track You Wear Those Eyes.
You wear those eyes that never blink. You always were.
You wear those eyes that never blink. You always were.
Missing link.
The missing link. Interesting. And you hear those drums, the way they echo, and those sound, those like Greg Hawkes' sounds just kind of like explode, right?
You paint your mouth. You let me know.
You paint your mouth.
You really are the only show. Just take your time. It's not too late. I'll be a mirror. You won't hesitate. Easy to be found. Whenever you come down.
Hear those chorused guitars, the way they just kind of blur and just warble like right under his vocals. Take apart the guitar, the really kind of nervy staccato bits that are really refined as those sustained keyboard notes are playing like along, setting kind of that like luminous bed of like neon, sonic neon under it all.
You make me lose my ground control.
You make me lose my ground control. Let's catch up with the lyrics. You got that walk. You do the stroll. You make me lose my ground control. You got that look. I can't resist. Like something missing, never kissed.
You got that look. I can't resist. Like something missing. Never kissed. Just take your time. It's not too late. It's not too late. I'll be a mirror. So you won't hesitate. Easy to be found. Whenever you come down.
Yeah, that is a really exciting part right there where it intensifies and goes into that instrumental section. But I love how the other members in the band were backing him up on choice words during the second chorus, as opposed to the first chorus. I'm easy to be found whenever you come down. Like, emphasizing that the narrator's making himself available for this very unique woman who's very picture perfect in his mind. A lot of which is kind of not a really advisable approach in this day and age, but lyricists could get away with kind of naive vignettes of how love could be, well, in fairy tales anyway. Like, as I read some of these lyrics, I'm thinking this is the kind of character that would probably be Brendan Orbiter in today's parlance. That guitar sound, very unique, very thin, almost kind of 50s like. I'm almost it's almost leaning on like Santo and like Sleepwalk, Santo and Johnny territory. And that was a different sound right there too, a slightly different tone.
Without a bounce,
You do the pogo without a bounce.
you got the name I can't pronounce.
You got a name I can't pronounce.
You fall in love, you like a sting. You make believe, it's everything.
You fall in love, you like the sting. You make believe it's everything.
Just take your chance, it's not too late, it's not.
Very beautiful chord sequence right there. The way that his the notes that his vocals fall upon within those chords as they descend. Dun, 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 dun. It's going like what? C, B flat, A, F. I swear I'm hearing like a major seventh though, or something kind of making it all the more pretty. Like maybe it's a certain note that the voice hits. Something in there is like adding something, and the way those keyboards like accent it on those high notes.
I'll be a mirror, so you won't hesitate. I'm easy to be found whenever you come down. Just take your time. It's not too late. Just take your time. It's not too late. Just take your time. It's not too late.
Good, yeah. The way that I guess Greg Hawkes and Ben Orr are backing him up, maybe Elliot Easton. I the two I just mentioned, those are the ones I always recall seeing taking the mic during certain moments in like TV appearances and such. Hawks, Ben Orr. Although looking here on the credits, we don't get to learn about Greg Hawkes's actual keyboard arsenal. Although they might. Let's see. Greg Hawkes was a very innovative keyboardist. For they just say keyboards. They don't say like what make or model. I imagine there's quite a few of them, but he was always coming up with like innovative. In fact, him and Barry Andrews, the original XTC keyboardist, I would easily say were the most innovative keyboardists like in the Anglosphere during coming out of the new wave. I'll say it like barring like like the Berlin School was a whole another thing altogether. I wouldn't pit those two entities, new wave and yeah, keyboard saxophone, not on this song though. Yeah, those are the three vocalists in the band. I don't see a vocal credit by Oh, David Robinson and Elliot Easton. Yeah. So Elliot Easton's the one coming up with those unique guitar sounds.
Just take your time. It's not too late. 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 Just take your
Yeah, what can I say? A beautiful song from a new wave band, kind of getting more experimental on this album. What I love about that song is that it combines like some of the prettiest elements of soft rock from that time, but with that cold wave detachment of like Gary Newman, which it kind of it's somewhat like in that camp, like the John Fox Gary Newman camp. I mean, there were like those like some of those percussion sounds and are things that like I could see Newman having used around that time. I'm thinking like Remember I Was Vapor comes to mind with those like sustained pew, 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 do 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 do. Yeah, of Telecon. Similar arrangement between this and that, and at the same time, I'm also hearing some of the kind of lush, luminous balladry that Alan Tarney was producing with artists like Cliff Richard, like a song like you, Better Than I Know Myself, or Summer Rain, or yeah, some of those ballads like on Wired for Sound, or Barbara Dixon's the Barbara Dixon album. Yeah, so I'm hearing like kind of like the best of both worlds in this song. Yeah, like Gary Newman and Alan Tarney. Um, and Panorama was a very experimental album overall. It was them taking the clout that they had gained in the industry by having two platinum albums in a row, using it to take a chance, knowing that they could sell records pretty easily at this point, taking their listeners further. And it didn't quite sell like the previous albums, but it was worth it for them. They took kind of a mass audience, and they served as a conduit through which a wider group of people got exposed to some of the newer innovative ideas that were coming out of the new wave. And so it could kind of serve as like a gate through this, like kids who were listening to like Kiss and Cheap Trick might through this album have their ears kind of opened up to the likes of Gary Newman, Ultravox, stuff that may have seemed somewhat off-putting if it hadn't have been for the Cars serving as a buffer. And apparently during the touring behind this album and the promotions behind it, including one performance on a American TV show, they chose some really outre new wave acts to support them, and went against like their label's advice, and tried to help lift some other bands, knowing the lucky position they were in. Yeah, a band that made good on their success and tried to use it to help others, tried to bring, because they had been like the only new wave band to break through on the American charts, like during the late 70s in America. The sleeping giant, as they called it back then. And in fact, in one interview, Ric Ocasek said, "Oh, the real new wave, the real hardcore new wavers probably don't don't like us much anyway. They might see us as kind of a sellout, or what they might see us as kind of impure, not the genuine article, but what we're trying to do. And then he said something to the effect that they're trying to like use the platform that they have to open other ears up to the newer sounds. And the Cars would never get as adventurous as they did on this album, quite as experimental or artsy. But Ric Ocasek would conclude this. He had more of this in a system. He would explore this further on his 1982 solo album Beatitude, which is the natural successor to this album. Like, especially side 2. And yeah, like songs like some of the other songs on this album, yeah, like Touch and Go, which was like the only Panorama, the title track, has that real like Newman-esque kind of like motoric, dun 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 dun, yeah. And side 2 of Beatitude especially is like really, and like, you know, the between those two came Shake It Up, which was like them kind of trying to make amends with their labels somewhat, and they had some of their biggest hits with it, so it was worth it. Anyway, a band that had a really a group of artists really who had a great run between 1978 and 1985 thereabouts. And for more rubies and sapphires from this album, see the directory of albums from 1978. 1,200 some odd albums currently on there from around the world. 1978. No, excuse me. 1980. Psst. I was thinking about the year the Cars came out, not the year of this for some reason. See the directory of albums from 1980, because I don't have like a directory in which I've compiled American bands like they don't quite go in that Blue Eyed Soul directory. Albums from 1980, over 1,050 titles currently. Great year, 1980. Music from around the world. You can see the rubies and sapphires from this album, as well as like from the two-tone acts, from just everyone. And follow me on social media to know when the next video comes out. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.